Hello, it is Success Story Saturday, August 11th, 2018. Steve Sipress here on a spectacular Saturday here in sunny Arizona. Had another big monsoon storm last night and a bunch of wind and rain and some damage around, but not here. And today, it's about 7 o'clock at night and it's under 100 degrees. That hasn't happened for a while. And so, really pleasant here. I know it sounds strange, but with no humidity, it's very pleasant when it's in the 90s or even around 100 here. Anyway, today's subject of Success Story Saturday is a man by the name of W.K. Kellogg. You might not know those first two initials, but I'm pretty sure you recognize the last name. He, along with his brother, invented the flaked cereal that still bears the Kellogg name to this day. So, who was W.K. Kellogg? Well, I'll spoil the story, and it's a real quick one. I won't throw in a lot of details, but the biggest lesson is that, like just about every successful person, he made his money by being innovative and effective in marketing, not in the fact that cornflakes are somehow the tastiest cereal of all time, or even of that time. But I digress. We'll begin at the beginning. He was born to an entrepreneur, although now that I think, back in those days, pretty much everyone was self-employed, was a business owner. He was born in 1860, and that's predated the freeing of the slaves and then the Industrial Revolution that pretty much came about to employ all these people that had been slaves and people thinking like slaves, and pretty much the Industrial Revolution could really be called the wage slave revolution, because suddenly people decided, and still to this day, a whoppingly huge majority of people, even studies show that only 13% of Americans are self-employed. That means 87% of Americans are wage slaves. They decide to let somebody else determine everything they do, how much money they make and when they work and what they have to say and how they have to dress, and unless, of course, it's an NFL team, in which case the owners are spineless and they let their employees do anything they want for some reason. Other employees that I know can't just do anything they want, but NFL team owners are so spineless, they make the dumb decision of, I'm not going to fire that guy because that would cost me like $5 or $10 million in the contract. Meanwhile, they're losing billions of dollars from people like me that would never watch that sport again. But I digress. Back to W.K. Kellogg. His father was had a broom making company, and so when W.K. Kellogg, who was one of 7 kids, was 13 years old, he started selling his dad's brooms and started going around to schools. Sherry is here, good seeing you, and selling brooms for his dad's company. He dropped out of high school and was selling those to support the family that was struggling and never making a lot of money. And then when he became 20 years old, he went to work with his older brother, who was a doctor and who was running a health spa. The Kellogg's were Seventh-day Adventists and therefore health conscious, and they were vegetarians and all that. And so when Kellogg went to his older brother, Dr. Kellogg's health spa resort, called a sanitarium in those days, one of the things that his older brother, Dr. Kellogg, had him do, besides everything, here he was working incredibly long hours and making almost no money, and he wrote a diary entry, even the history shows that he said, I think I'm going to be poor forever and never be able to support a family or anything. His brother was running him ragged, had no respect for him since he didn't even graduate high school, apparently, and made him do all kinds of menial things. But one of the things that his older brother had him do was to help invent healthy foods so that the guests at the health resort could eat healthy foods. And in those days, breakfast, well, as the story goes for poor people, if you've seen the movie, the play Oliver, where they made movies based on it. I saw it as a play as a kid in New York. Of course, being lucky enough to be in New York and have parents that took me to some shows, and that was one of them. They ate things like gruel and porridge and, all that kind of cheap grains and slop and all that crap. But, the elites, the well-to-do, the wealthy people were eating steak and eggs, meat, bacon, eggs, sausage. And of course, for the vegetarian, Seventh-day Adventist, and at a health food place, they'll have none of that, so they wanted something healthier. And actually, the Kellogg's invented the way to create flaked cereal. Wheat flakes were the first one, and then corn flakes, which became their biggest brand, probably still to this day, Kellogg's Corn Flakes. And so they had this cereal, but the older brother, the doctor, which by the way is like many doctors, I've helped doctors. I've had some clients, some doctors smart enough to become my clients, but most are so stupid when it comes to marketing, they refuse to do any marketing. They say such ignorant, stupid things like, I'm in the network. I get all my business from referral. And they don't even think about getting anyone to do any marketing, and therefore they pass up on tons of money. Really, I'd say doctors are probably the dumbest category of business owner I've ever worked with. Not as people, obviously. They got to have some kind of book smart to go through school and become a doctor and get a degree. But I mean in business smarts. They're just stupid about business. They don't even do anything with marketing. Anyway, so there you go. Dr. Kellogg was like, no, we're not gonna really market this or sell it. They kind of wanted to keep it their own proprietary thing. But then as the guests came by and started, experiencing it and eating it and tasting it, the word started spreading. And actually one of the guests, as the legend says, of that health resort back then was a guy by the name of C.W. Post. You might recognize that name too. I remember as a kid being mystified that there was Kellogg's Raisin Bran and there was Post Raisin Bran. I was like, how can they name the same? Aren't there like copyrights or something, like the same cereal with two different companies? But C.W. Post saw those flakes and said, I got to start my own Post cereal company. And that really got W.K. Kellogg upset. And he went to his older brother and said, we got to really do something here. And he wanted to do this new thing. This was back around, they invented the flakes like in the 1890s. And then in like early 20th century, the turn of the last century, around like 1905 or 1906, it was just starting. Companies were just starting to do this thing called consumer advertising. Had not really been done before. And W.K. Kellogg was like, I want to do that. I want to do some advertising. I want to do anything I can to sell as many of these flaked cereals as possible all over the place. Remember, he had been doing sales since he was 13 years old. He was what all great entrepreneurs are, great salespeople. They all are salesmen and marketers and innovators. And W.K. Kellogg, one of the most successful entrepreneurs of all time, clearly no exception. So, but his older brother was still just a fuddy-duddy, like, again, most doctors that I know, like, oh no, we're not going to do any marketing, none of that advertising kind of stuff, no. And W.K. Kellogg said, I'm out of here, and he left, and he went to start his own company. Now, later on, this resulted in a lawsuit from what I believe would be a jealous older brother, the doctor, who had lorded over W.K. Kellogg and paid him nothing and run him ragged and probably had no respect for him. And now here was W.K. Kellogg with an extremely successful company based on the cereal that they invented together. And the older brother actually sued him. And this thing went on for years and years and went through all the courts and whatever. And eventually W.K. Kellogg won the suit. But as legend has it, the brothers never talked again. But anyway, so W.K. Kellogg went off and started his own company, had done some mail order. At least his older brother, Dr. Kellogg, had let them sell some with mail order, which was the way all sales were done back then, and the way still most money is made in direct sales nowadays with direct mail, although you wouldn't know it from most business owners. They're all enraptured with this. I got to do Facebook ads, or I got to have a website, I got to do email marketing, social media, all the fancy, shiny objects that don't work as nearly as well as direct mail. They're much more costly and much less money is made. But anyway, back then there was no internet, so they were doing direct mail. But then W.K. Kellogg started doing advertising. At the time that he did, and he started his own business, by the way, there were about 40 different cereal companies, manufacturers just in that local area, which makes sense since that's where they had invented it and that's where most of the guests were to their health spa that saw the process and started making it themselves. And so it wasn't a matter of, gee, I have better cornflakes than you, or again, like I mentioned earlier, Raisin Bran is Raisin Bran flakes of corn or flakes of corn, although they were a little innovative about that. They used malt, and they used a special process to not flake it from the full ear, put something else, whatever. But still, come on, it's cornflakes. So it wasn't that the cereal was the greatest tasting thing in the world. It was W.K. Kellogg's marketing that made him what would be in today's terms a billionaire. And so, in fact, in early 1900s, W.K. Kellogg constructed, which at the time was the largest billboard, the largest advertising sign in the world, was about 50 feet high and 100 feet wide. And so he was always thinking, what else can I do to market this? What else can I do to sell more? What else can I do to get the word out? What else can I do? What else can I do? And he did everything he possibly could in every way he possibly could. He really understood what most business owners don't, what Jay Abraham calls the moral obligation, that if you believe you have something of value, whatever product or service you have, and hopefully you do, then it's your moral obligation to do everything you possibly can to market and sell it as much as possible, to get that in the hands of as many people as possible so they can use your stuff and benefit from it and succeed with it. So that's what W.K. Kellogg did, and he was off to the races. And then, of course, he became a philanthropist and was giving away his money, and he was traveling and had all kinds of business ventures in different states, and he loved bringing up Arabian horses, and he ended up donating that land to the University of California. Some other of his land was donated to the Michigan State University, and he started the Kellogg Foundation somewhere during the Depression. He was giving away, during the Depression, another innovation he did, he changed from 3 8-hour shifts to 4 6-hour shifts. That allowed more people to have jobs during the Great Depression, and he paid a higher wage than anyone around for comparable work, which again, as I say all the time, on the Success Story Saturday, I share stories of many entrepreneurs that did that, and we don't need the government to be mandating a higher minimum wage or anything. You need entrepreneurs, just let the free market work. Sharp entrepreneurs will pay more money, give better benefits, better working conditions, all that kind of stuff on their own when there is a market for labor, which thanks to, after 8 years of miserably ignorant economic president, we have one that pretty much all he knows is economics and making money. And so we have lots of people available to work, which will drive up wages and benefits and working conditions and advancement and all that kind of stuff. And so that's what happened back then with Kellogg. He was an innovator with the product. He was an innovator with the sales. He was an innovator with the marketing. He was an innovator in how he ran the business. And he became one of the most successful entrepreneurs of all time. And I wish the same for you. That's it for Success Story Saturday. I can go on and on about W.K. Kellogg. Look him up, get motivated, and be educated by what he did and how he lived. And hopefully you will, in whatever measure you want to as well. I was going to say, I think he started his Kellogg Foundation with about $66 million back then, which would be well over $1 billion in today's money. So I don't know if that's your goal, but hopefully your goal is to have as fun and stress-free and financially secure lifestyle as you want. You can't get that just by having a great product or service. You got to also be an innovator, and you got to concentrate on the sales and marketing of your business. That's it for Success Story Saturday. Thanks everyone being here live and watching on the replay. I will check in tomorrow, likely from just taking a dip right back here in my pool tomorrow on Sunday Fun Day. Hope to catch you then. Bye-bye. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to mention something I think I will be showing off tomorrow is my new pool towel. Because if you paid attention to last Saturday's Success Story Saturday video, I was on my way to go kayaking on the Salt River a few miles away from here with a friend and client of mine, and I didn't want to take the towel on the kayak with the chance that I might capsize the kayak in the rapids as I had the year before, and sure enough, I did it again. And so I'm glad I didn't have that towel on the kayak. I left it in the car, and afterwards, when we got all the kayaks off and we were on our way and whatever, I forgot to get the towel back. Went right onto the trusty Amazon, and a couple of days later, they delivered my brand new towel, which I will have fun showing you tomorrow on Sunday Fun Day. So, a little spoiler alert, I'll be showing my fun new towel at my fun pool tomorrow on Sunday Fun Day. Hope to see you then. Bye-bye.